Colorado wants people to ditch their cars.
Bettering our air, lessening the impacts on the environment.
We're going 360 on a program starting today, giving people free rides on public transportation while hoping to improve our air quality.
It's sort of a pilot to provide free transit for ozone seasons.
Plus, deadly and devastating flooding hits Kentucky.
People still has not even got out. We're 5 days in this.
Now rescue teams are searching for survivors.
With the level of water, we're going to be finding bodies for weeks.
Denver 7 wants to feed Coloradans struggling to get food, and you can help.
From the time that COVID hit, we've seen more of an increase in need, sustained need.
And today is Colorado's birthday, how you can join in on the celebration. Yeah, we'd love to get outside and celebrate Colorado, but here at 11, we're starting with a live look outside from our Lookout Mountain camera, and there is that thin layer of haze that is sitting over the city. The Front Range is under an air quality alert for most of the day because of that haze and our hot weather. Good morning to you once again. I'm Brian Sanders, joined by Katie LaSalle. This might be a good day to stay inside, Katie, if you have any kind of health concern.
Oh, absolutely. I'm really enjoying the AC here inside the studio at this hour. It is already warming up, and an air quality warning is in effect until at least 4 o'clock this afternoon. Includes all of the Denver metro area up north to the border. You saw it from the camera there. Our ozone concentrations are unhealthy for sensitive groups, so you may want to limit time outdoors if you do fall into that category. Also, it could be a great day to take advantage of our free RTD travel starting this month for today with reduced driving and really recommended for it this afternoon. Daytime highs will be in the 90s. It's already 87 degrees, so Brian, stay cool and hydrate for today. We'll stay in the 90s through much of the week.
Thank you, Katie. As she mentioned, Colorado wants to improve our air quality over time by encouraging more people to take public transportation. So for the entire month of August, the state is launching its first ever free fares on mass transit. Denver 7's Russell Haythorne is taking a 360 look this morning at what the program hopes to accomplish.
It's a transit system that has enjoyed success,
I think that's fantastic.
but also endured some failures, especially during the pandemic.
I used to take it a lot when I was going down to the Rockies games, but once the pandemic hit,
it just hasn't worked.
So now there's a renewed effort to attract riders to RTD in a way that would save you money, while also working to save our environment.
Transportation is actually the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions in the state of Colorado.
But there are serious doubts about whether a new state-funded plan will make a dent in traffic and ozone issues at all. So we're taking the state's Zero Fare for Better Air concept 360, and we start with those who use it or have used it and why they do or don't ride.
I think it's great. Anytime anyone needs to get out of the city, it's a very quick way to go meet friends.
there's stabbings on buses, there's a lot of crime, so that's my primary concern.
I go to work at 2 and I get off at 10:38, and it's really bad down here and dangerous.
Donna Simon rides frequently, but mostly out of necessity because she doesn't own a car.
Is there enough security?
No, they need to have them on the trains constantly, just out here fighting, cursing. Some of them walking around half dressed, just crack, all that stuff is just unsafe.
The idea behind the state-funded plan, get more people to ride, safety in numbers, while also reducing cars on the roads.
Bettering our air, lessening the impacts on the environment.
It's sort of a pilot to provide free transit for ozone seasons, so particularly June, July, and August.
So when we're looking to reduce our carbon footprint, hopping on board an RTD, that is really contributing to the betterment of our air quality.
State climate experts explain why ozone is so bad in the summer.
We have longer days, a lot more sunlight, and the sun angle is very high. Just the way the terrain is set up with the Palmer Divide just to the south of Denver, you have the foothills off to the west, and that really is conducive for stagnant weather conditions during the summer.
While the benefit to the environment would be a bright spot, there's still some haziness about the economic viability.
Will that work?
No, you can't force people onto public transportation. They've been trying it for decades and decades and decades.
Darren Dubersmith is a senior economics and marketing lecturer at Metro State who rode RTD to and from work for 30 years.
I quit basically in 2018 for good reason.
Why?
Well, the same reason most everybody quit. When they were losing ridership, what they did was a very bad marketing move, which is raise prices. So you're paying a ton of money, it's not comfortable during rush hour. During the rest of the time, it's largely unsafe and stinky and dirty at best. You know, they do the best that they can, but they're understaffed.
You can see
the CEO of RTD, Deborah Johnson, doesn't disagree. She says staffing is an Achilles heel.
We are having some challenges with people power. Oftentimes people just talk about operators, but we're talking about individuals that can clean and service our vehicles, and it's been challenging.
And while this program may be a step in the right direction, Johnson, who has 30 years experience in mass transit, says what's truly needed to make mass transit in Metro Denver more robust, reliable, and safe is more funding.
But what we're trying to do is create a welcoming environment. There's a myriad of ways in which we can do it, you know, relative to actually putting forward dollars to support the delivery of transit services.
I think she's right. I think this is something that the government, if you want a robust public transportation system, it's something that has to absolutely be subsidized.
Dubersmith says it only works well in other cities because the government funds it.
That's the point. There's no competition. This is government. So you know what happens when there's no competition? Higher prices and lower quality.
In fact, according to the Congressional Budget Office, on average, state governments support 23% of transit agency operations in their respective states. Colorado, on the other hand, supports less than 1% of RTD's annual operating expenses, which brings us back to this new funding mechanism: zero fares for better air.
A lot of support for this program, not only from legislators, but also from the transit agencies, as well as from the public.
The question is, will it grow, shrink, die off completely? The answer to that could reveal the future of mass transit in Metro Denver.
They're at a point right now where they don't have enough ridership, they don't have enough customers to really even stay in business.
Fourth generation native, and it's like the last thing that we ever address in this city.
In Denver,
there's a lot of people that I work with.
Russell Haythorne.
They depend on it.
Denver 7.
So we will know more in a month here, but RTD is not the only transit agency offering zero fares for the month of August. Greeley, Pueblo, and several smaller Colorado cities are offering free fares as well. Be sure to check with your local transit agency about their participation in the program. You might be wondering if public transit will actually save you money and time during your daily commute. Well, we compared how much it would cost and how much time it would take to get from RTD's Bellevue station in the Denver Tech Center to our station on Spear Boulevard. So here's what we found. It would take you about 45 minutes using public transit, which includes walking and a bus and a train ride. The fare is free, of course, this month, but normally it would be about $5 one way. Google Maps says the drive would take you 16 minutes. It would use about a half gallon of gas plus the cost of insurance, so that would be a little more than $7 one way. We'd love to hear from you about the free public transit rides, though. You can always email us at 360@thedenverchannel.com. You can also comment on our Facebook page. Denver wants to give grants to small businesses to encourage people to shop and dine locally to help our city rebound from the pandemic. The grants are from the American Rescue Plan and available for community groups or nonprofits or businesses still recovering from the pandemic. Those grants would be used for things like events or exhibits and even landscaping to attract more foot traffic. Money would be distributed as early as next month if the city approves the plan. Inflation, rising food costs, and the high cost of living are impacting all of us, but our food banks are really struggling to serve families most in need right now due to an increase in demand and fewer donations. But there is a way you can help starting today. Denver 7 is partnering with the Food Bank of the Rockies for 7 days to help end hunger. And Denver 7's Nicole Brady was at the Food Bank's distribution center this morning to see firsthand the endless amount of work that goes on.
It really is incredible work they do at the Food Bank of the Rockies Distribution Center here. Right now, all around me, we are seeing pallets of food being loaded up. From here, they'll go on to trucks and then out to partners around the state and in Wyoming, who will then distribute it to people in need of food. Food Bank of the Rockies has about 700 partner agencies, and they provide, in some cases, up to 80% of those agencies' food supply. So Food Bank of the Rockies clearly is a well-oiled machine. They know what they're doing here, but what they need is financial donations to keep this mission going, to keep that food going out the door here. Right now, Food Bank of the Rockies is spending more on fuel, about 60% more than normal on fuel, and more on food, of course. You know it because you've gone to the grocery store. Last month, they spent a record $1.7 million on food and freight costs to get this food out to Coloradans. And as we pointed out, it's at the same time when the need among families is greater than ever. 1 in 8 Coloradans is experiencing hunger right now.
For the first time ever, we're seeing person after person who has never in their life needed food assistance before now. It's since the onset of COVID, that's roughly about 40% of the people we are serving have never needed food assistance before now. We've all had experiences where we're at the grocery store and we get our total and we're like, gosh, that seems a lot more than it used to. For a family that was already living really on the margin of being able to afford their monthly living expenses, are now being faced with those cruel choices.
No family should have to make that choice between feeding their kids and paying for health care or other basic necessities. So that's where you can come in and help today. If you can just stretch your budget a little more, your dollar can go so far because they leverage their purchasing power here at Food Bank of the Rockies, buying in bulk, buying wholesale, and they can turn $1 into 4 meals. They are feeding 178,000 meals every day out of this distribution center. So they can do so much with what you give them. We just need you to make that donation, and Denver 7 Gives will be matching the first $10,000. So please go to our website, thedenverchannel.com, and make that donation. Back to you.
Thank you, Nicole. Turning to the Broncos, who kick off the regular season 6 weeks from today. Still ahead, there's a chance to score some cheap tickets to see the team play at Empower Field this year. Plus, devastating floods have hit Kentucky, and now rescue teams are trying to find survivors before more rain hits the area.